All right, I think we are set here. So, yep, audio levels look good. Okay, so let's go ahead and kick off. My name is Jared. Welcome back, everybody. And I guess happy holidays to everyone. Hope you enjoyed the extended weekend and just rest period from the marketplace. Today is December 27th, 2022. We're looking at the last week of the trading year before we get into 2023. Very likely to be some major changes to how the Engineering the Market show is kind of structured. I'll be kind of outlining that at the beginning of next year and talking through some of the deviations that we're going to be taking. But all in all, we're still discussing some of the major elements of the market, along with technical, quantitative, and fundamental bias. Where should we be looking for opportunity, and where should we be focusing for trade? So, as always, it is Tuesday, so instead of our Monday session. And for today, let's look at our SPX expected move. This is our weekly expected move. So this is ending Friday. And as you know, this is a 4-day trading week. So it is a slightly lower expected move just relative to the number of trading sessions. I did not get a chance to mark it on the chart, but I did go ahead and grab the actual expected move number, which is plus or minus 70 SPX points. This is, of course, based off of Friday's close, which is currently marked at 38.44.82. So, as we always do, we just plus or minus the expected move from Friday's close. That gets us our weekly expected move boundary from a price perspective. And barring any rounding, 37.74 would be the downside expected move, the lower expected move, and then 39.15, the upper expected move. So looking at those prices, looking at some of the response from last week's trade, it was, of course, sort of rounding into a holiday, so a little bit of give and take here and there. We certainly had some good price volatility. You'll notice on Thursday especially, we came into last week's expected move pretty much within the penny. I do round these numbers up or down based on the last two digits. So if I had not done so, I think this would have been pretty darn close with, pennies in the SPX are basically perfect hits in regards to some of these reactions. And what I found interesting about Thursday's trade was where we were selling from. The session started on a gap down. We sold into the lower expected move. And then it almost felt as if volume and volatility was coming in out of nowhere. Once we hit that low, it's as if there was no more selling to be done. And one thing the expected move does is it shows us where risk is. It shows us where the marketplace interprets option risk. And if you have a market like the SPX that goes from, let's say, the middle down to the low, sometimes these price reactions will occur because ultimately the market doesn't want to be outside of the expected move. It is more of a lower probability event. And additionally, it is where things start to get a little bit more hectic in terms of hedging and certain types of price dynamics that have to take place. So while this is not necessarily how the expected move works all the time, it is noteworthy to see why we rallied from that price. And more specifically, if you're a trader, you often want to play to these levels. So if you're selling or buying and moving away from something like a weekly close, you often are targeting boundaries or some sort of resistance and support. Expected move isn't quite that, but it does indicate the width of price activity for the week and what the market expected price to move through the entire session. So I thought that was really interesting on Thursday because it's very clear when we tag the low and to some degree why we tag the low. But additionally, you'll notice that there really wasn't much more downside after that. Market was more inclined to be bullish or just recover some of that selling that we saw on the session. Additionally, I think this puts an interesting technical nuance into something like the SPY. And what you'll notice here is I have two price levels marked just to simplify the discussion. We are looking at the S&P setting up a possible downtrend. And what's important to note here is the type of downtrend that it is. We are trying to set up a daily downtrend. People will argue that because we sold so heavily from the CPI and the FOMC type reactions that we're already in a downtrend, price has reverted, and obviously people are looking downside once again. But structurally, we haven't quite confirmed what our downtrend retracement size looks like, nor has the low breaking from Thursday's price activity confirmed. And these are some important distinctions that kind of keep the market in a position of indecision right now. And it might make this week's trade a little bit tricky, especially if you're not necessarily just playing to those boundaries that we talked about in the SPX. So first things first, the SPX is pricing the expected move for the week at 37.74. If you recall, as we were looking here, the lower boundary from last week was 37.64 or 65 if you round up, which means that the market from an expected move view doesn't anticipate that the market is going to break Thursday's low. And that's a good way to kind of think about some of these regions is if the market's not pricing for that event, it might not be something that will take hold this week. It might be something for the future or just a anomalous price event that might even be recovered quite quickly. So as far as volatility for the week, breaking Thursday's low is not really priced. The SPX does not expect that for the week, or at least it's a lower probability expectation. And if you look at the SPY in that perspective, what that means is last week we tried to turn into a daily downtrend with a retracement size of approximately 23, I'll just call it 30% back up. Very bear flag-esque, you know, the retracement was low, big sell swing from the CPI and FOMC highs, all that just culminating into downside. But we didn't really continue that move. And on Friday, we kind of rebounded back into the middle of this lower price region. So whenever I see bear flags or bull flags try to break and fail, I often have to think about the risk. Where is the market more likely to go, given that it can't traverse in the direction of the more probabilistic bias? You know, for example, if you're in a downtrend, you often expect bounces to be sold at some point. You expect them to be retraced or given up. And especially if they break to new lows, you sort of know the size of selling based on a previous sell swing. And same thing for an uptrend. The main thing you need is just the setup. You're trying to tighten up the risk, but you still know where you're going. You're either going up or down based on the trend. Anytime there's a new low or a new high and there's a lack of follow through, it puts that entire structure that got you into that setup into question. And the first thing that I look for is if we can't go lower, we might need to retest the high that put us at a new low. So the more simple approach here is this high right here might need to be retested. And that, of course, will lead to more back and forth range trading, or maybe just a short-term, price reverberation as some of the moving averages catch up on this chart. You'll notice as well the 50 period did reject, but it is a rising 50 period. So hitting the backside of a rising 50 is kind of an awkward technical short, even though we are seeing a little bit of follow through on Thursday. Secondly, I look at some of the price reverberation that's going on right now. And once again, I kind of call back into the expected move. The upside expected move is 39.15 for the week for the SPX. What that does is it gives the SPY, or the SPX if you're looking at it directly, the opportunity to backtest. And this is outside of the weekly pricing, but it is a more technically driven concept. The idea that the market didn't really get to a point of clear support and resistance from a price perspective rejection. In fact, in seeing some of this failed setup right now, this may be sort of the short-term trade that might need to take place, and getting back to a point where we see a very clear technical rejection along with the short-term moving average. Right here, I just have the 20 catching up. Especially when you have such a hard sell like we did, we essentially went from a short-term uptrend to a short-term downtrend structure very quickly based on the moving averages, but the price and the candle structure is not quite in alignment yet. So all this means is I think this week is going to be a little tricky. For one, it's a holiday sort of week. We are leaning into the new year, so there are going to be some tax-related selling events along with just repositioning for the new year. Most of that's done on the option market, so it's not necessarily something we're going to see directly through equities, but all in all, you can kind of think about underperforming and overperforming assets. The ones that are down year to date or since 2022 began might see continued sell pressure as people are just sort of realizing those losses and looking to reallocate that cash position. But winners or outperforming assets might simply just stay elevated, not necessarily rise, but ultimately don't have to have the type of selling pressure that underperforming assets currently do. And what this can do is kind of shift some of the bias for next year relative to the indices. One thing that's been really shifting recently has been market cap holding and weight relative to certain assets. We saw this happen early this year with energy stocks. And this was a more interesting shift because it was, I would say, more clear. Energy stocks are the outperformer this year. There's no question about that at this point. But additionally, they outperformed so much relative to the decline in tech, communication, and just some of the larger previous market cap holdings, that the weighting of these assets in the S&P has shifted. And we noticed that more specifically with the big energy names like ExxonMobil, and then a little bit farther down, Chevron. So as of today, and as of the fund's holdings, Exxon and Chevron represent number 9 and number 16. A year ago, that was not true. In fact, they were much farther down the list, and the upper holdings were much more concentrated in tech, consumer discretionaries, and then communication. We had, of course, Apple and Microsoft, which still hold top 1 and 2, but their market caps have taken a bit of a hit. Amazon and Tesla, those are probably the more shifted market caps, especially because Tesla no longer sits anywhere in the top 10. It's actually number 14 as of today. And that's due to the significant market cap reduction we're seeing currently. This particular sell swing in Tesla has been quite violent and fast. I think that's kind of the key, is it's coming to a head very quickly, as opposed to just being a slowly declining asset. I think probably over the past 3 months, Tesla has lost half of its previous market cap starting in October. And that's when we're really starting to see some of the sell pressure enter into the stock. So big shifts in who's leading the market. And this is not only by performance, but who can actually move the market. Which stocks hold relevance based on their volatility. And then, of course, Alphabet shifting a little bit as well. There's a bit of an odd numerical approach here. I'd have to look at the charts, but these normally are right next to each other, but it looks like United Healthcare is kind of sneaking into slot number 6, and Johnson & Johnson. 2 healthcare names, very obvious strength in healthcare starting to show itself near the end of the year, and certain assets like these holding much better than the rest of the I would say more tech or growth driven names, the likes of ones that we've covered before. So big adjustments here, big fun reallocation. This will take place as specifically the S&P reallocates. It usually does so, I think, once a quarter. So they will shift these weightings around and just reallocate towards the assets that are under allocated or over allocated. So this is kind of how markets change. Leadership changes, the stocks in focus start to change, and it's not that they're irrelevant anymore, but what it means is if a stock like Tesla, for example, moved plus or minus 5% on a session, it meant something. It affected the S&P heavily. It actually could drive trade across other assets, especially if it was outside of its expected movement for the week. But now Tesla can move 5 or 10% on a weekly session, and the market cap impact is the same, if not lower than what it used to be. And that's an account for the share pricing and the market cap of the company itself. Just to kind of get a sense of that, one thing you can look at is what is the market cap now versus maybe a couple of months ago. Currently, Tesla sits at about I'll just call it slightly under 400 billion market cap. And while that still is quite high, it's still a very important stock. It's equivalent to a stock like NVIDIA. So of course, their holdings within the fund that is market cap weighted will be very similar. And then of course, you look at an Exxon. This is the one that kind of made the biggest shift this year, closer to the top 20. Exxon, at least by the market's perspective, is valued more. It has a higher market cap. So Exxon is more important. Doesn't mean that Exxon is more volatile. And the moves in Exxon are not necessarily going to be felt as reverberating as a stock like Tesla. But it showcases that if stocks like Exxon move 5%, it means more to the fund as opposed to names that you might be more familiar with. Now, this, of course, is going to be hitting a lot of names throughout the market. And I think this is important for what we're seeing in some of our higher market cap names. Remember, just because a stock like Apple for example, goes from, let's say, 150 to 130, that might not seem like a big change because it's only $20 per share. And that's a perspective that a lot of traders and sometimes investors lose sight of. If a stock like Apple loses that type of share pricing, it means that the market cap reduction has been significantly reduced, simply because it started at an elevated position. In this case, we're still looking at a stock holding about a 2 trillion market cap. And you can kind of extrapolate this. What happens if a stock like Apple corrects further? And that's, of course, one of the larger technical fears that's going on right now, simply because Apple doesn't have a lot of support under this price. This is where things really start to break down, and it would only take a little bit of a push to get us going. So this year has been important for some of that because we're seeing massive repricing. This is not only due to what the Fed's been forced to do with interest rates rising, quantitative tightening, but along with the economic condition that's coming over the next possible year or two. I think we're just seeing a little bit of slowdown, and it's hitting more companies than not, but a lot of them are just repricing based on their discount rate, their relevance relative to risk-free money. You know, the whole argument of interest rates rising and these stocks falling, you know, the reduction of their multiples. The ones that are actually profitable companies, and especially the ones with the largest market caps, those are the ones to maybe focus on for 2023, especially their overall impact to the indices, because that's where the remaining market cap could be adjusted. And that's where more, in this case, downside could be experienced. Of course, we would need to see some of that confirmation come through in the stocks that still matter, the ones that are still moving, things like the S&P and the NASDAQ. So remember some of that for any sort of, I would say, like portfolio management, along with what sort of impacts a stock could have to the indices. It's not about share price. You know, that's the easy thing to do is to look at the chart. The chart is simple because we know if it's going up or down. We know if candles are rejecting or confirming. We know trends. We can figure all that out pretty easily. It's based on rules. Don't forget what's under the hood here. These are representations of companies with market cap weighting metrics that can define how the indice will be priced in the future. And especially, I have to remember this a lot when I'm looking at the SPY. The SPY in itself is an aggregate of so many complex movements throughout the marketplace. Not always, if certain assets are going down, doesn't mean that the SPY is going to go down. It just means that money is moving, and we're just trying to figure out where it's going. Where is the market cap going? Is it being placed somewhere else, keeping the S&P elevated or at least healthy? Or is it fully coming out of the market? And that, of course, is more those correlated sell-offs, or just the all asset classes going down, sort of your, 95 by 5 stocks on the downside. So those are your tips and tricks for today. It's not necessarily effective for today's trade, but I want there to be a little bit more understanding of that, because there's a lot of big shifts going on, especially in 2023. I think we'll be seeing more of that larger rotation of capital, and where does the market value performance. That's going to be kind of a big focus, I think, as we get into a less I would say all asset bubble of 2021. We're seeing the great inflationary sort of correction of 2022. And then 2023 will be important for focusing on strength and focusing on performance as opposed to just trying to figure out which stocks will bounce and where. So with all that said, my name is Jared. This is Engineering the Markets. As I mentioned, there's going to be some changes coming in 2023, so be on the lookout for that. But we'll talk more about that as the time goes on. Stay tuned for pre-market prep, and we'll talk more tomorrow.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to PreMarket Prep. I hope you're having an amazing morning. Hopefully, you guys had an incredible Christmas weekend. If you celebrate with friends and family, I hope you guys had an amazing time. Good morning, Norm. How you doing today?
Hey, good man. Good morning. Merry
Good.
Christmas. Hope you had a great weekend. How are you?
I did, man. I had a great weekend with the family and all that. I mean, kids had an incredible time. Just a whole lot of fun. Love this time of the year. The market not so much the last couple of days as we've seen here. In what's been happening lately with the drop, but we got some sideways action this morning. Pretty much flat, some activity. Let's see how this week is going to begin. This short week starting off on this Tuesday morning. So I don't got my scanners today, guys, so bear with me. They have expired, so I will be looking at other sources, and Norm will help me out as well. Throwing some tickers out here. So let me just get something else in line at the moment. And we'll see what's gapping up and down today. You can always get your scanners at tradingterminals.com, by the way. Head over to scanners there, and you can see what is gapping up or down. So on my gap up list this morning, as I look over on Trade Ideas, Trading Terminal, we do have Billy on deck. We have TJTX, so we'll type those in and see what's going on there. Um, so actually, before we do that, Norm, let's get over to announcements. What do we have going on, if anything, for today and this week? Not sure if there's any major stuff happening.
Yeah, today we've got trading goods at 8:30. That's not going to do anything. Case-Shiller Home Price Index and the FHFA U.S. Home Price Index both coming up. Nothing really too crazy as far as data this week. It should be pretty quiet on that front. Of course, we're in timing for the so-called potential Santa Claus rally. We'll see if anything happens with that. And yeah,
All right, excellent. All right, with that said, guys, let's take a look at some of the stuff that's gapping up today. We'll look at Billy. Billy is up 3% this morning. I mean, it's not a whole lot of volume, only 172,000. Their day looks good, right? Looks very interesting, moving sideways here. But aside from that, not a whole lot happening there. Could be a possible maybe but I'm sure if we look at other Chinese tickers, they might look better, even though they're not gapping up and down today. Let me go
Baba
ahead.
was on the list a minute ago. It's fallen
Uh,
off. It's just under that 2% threshold, but not seeing a
yeah.
whole lot of stuff there, frankly.
Yeah, Neo's got although they're not on the list here, they had a pretty
They're on
decent
the gap
move so
down list.
far. Oh, they're in the gap down. Yeah, no wonder. Okay, yeah. All right, so yeah, so we'll look at that, and then you said Baba was on the list. Okay, and
I had
here,
been on the gap up, but it's
yeah,
not quite 2% anymore.
just side of that as it drops here. So I'll put Baba and Neo. Now we'll look at Neo again in a second as a secondary. Those can trade very well. Neo already has great volume, so I do like that. Uh, TJTX, is this target short? Oh no, something else. Okay, about to say because I know TGT is is target.
This
Um,
is this is a biotech.
all right. Oh. Biotech, very light volume, guys. Not worth looking at really anything here at the moment. So we'll skip on this. Heading down to what's gapping up, what's gapping down today. We have a COSM. So let's
Of
look at
course we
that.
do.
COSM. Let's look at this hot garbage right here. Again, just really nothing to see here, guys. Let's move on to the next one. The next one will be Neo. So Neo is good here, guys. Down 5% right now. It does have good volume as well. And the range this morning, although it's no, not only, but it's down 5.4. It's been down lower, and it came from being green. So this is a really a big move. Yeah, I do like Neo, as mentioned there in the YouTube comments as well. So yeah, I'm actually gonna move Neo up. Any news,
They
Norm?
and Tesla, yeah. All the COVID news coming out of China, with hospitals being full and people dying and stuff of that nature.
Yeah.
There's plant shutdowns, and that's kind of what's hitting Tesla and Neo.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I do like Neo this morning. Gonna put them up here on my main list, and we'll see where that goes. And speaking of Tesla is next, and we know how crazy that one has been. So we'll put that one on deck as well right here. We'll add Tesla to the list already. 7.7 million shares traded. I mean, man, 117. It's just unbelievable where we're sitting at right now. The lows all the way down to Looks like 115 almost there. So, I mean, wow. Well, I mean, what else can we say, Norm? And what's going on with this ticker besides just a massacre?
I mean, I just mentioned it. China production concerns are amongst the top of what's going on with Tesla this morning.
Yeah. Just getting crushed here, guys. So more bad news on top of bad news for these guys. Let's take a look at LUV this morning. So LUV down 4.7. This is Southwest. They don't
Yep.
I don't all the airlines. Yeah. I think there's better stuff. This gap down seems a little aggressive this morning for the way they move. Anything on the airlines or just down specific?
Well, it's Love specifically. They're having to cancel a third of their flights for the next several days and they're getting some scrutiny from the Department of Transportation over the number of cancellations they're having and everything else. So,
okay.
Yeah.
It's been crazy. So, which is strange because they are actually one of the airlines that's supposed to be very good. So, I'm just a lot of concerns there.
The unspoken part of this, I believe, has to do with some concerns over pilot contracts, amongst other things. That's nobody's really talking about, but I am close friends with the wife of a Southwest pilot that has been just telling me all this stuff going on. So,
yeah. Always comes down to the money, man. It's these companies are brutal. The airline business is something else. Watching a documentary of the 737 Max with Boeing, which is pretty interesting. It's on Amazon Prime. These companies are ridiculous, man. The stuff they do that you don't hear about is insane. But that's only one side of the story. There's always two. So who knows? But yeah, they're here, guys. So they don't move very well. I mean, they're gapping down 4.8. We will have to kind of wait and see what happens here. TAL is one that we don't normally look at, although today they're dropping quite a bit. Was in the green, in the red, now down 3.8, 200,000. But again, I don't touch the stock. Is that a Chinese education company or whatever? I just don't get involved with that. Neo and Baba are better fits to trade if the Chinese tickers are going to be taking a dive today, which Neo already started. Here's Lee again getting hit with the same production issue, I assume. Not a whole lot of volume, not a whole lot of movement. So I'll stick with Neo and Tesla on that front right now, which it seems to be the two best tickers are both EVs, both on the same news here. Norm, let's take it to you. What do you have on your end?
Well, you do have TCOM that popped up on the gap up list. I'm not saying it's great, but it has popped up on some news of travel, increased travel with the lifting of restrictions. That having been said, with people getting sick, I don't know if that'll temper that. I don't know. My game plan today especially is going to be to sit back and see what the direction of the overall markets does, because when I got up this morning, it looked like everything was rosy to a degree. Santa Claus was in fact coming to town after some brutal trading the last few weeks, and we've essentially given all that back and gone red already on the Qs. The SPY is in a precipitous decline, and it looks like it wants to try to go red. So I want to see what happens. I'm going to give it a little bit of time.
I agree 100%. It's looking more like a Grinch rally here than anything. This thing is it's been taking quite a bit of a hit. But I agree with you. And that's kind of what's the plan also a few days last week, Norm, right? We came in, the market was just kind of all over the place. There was really no stocks in play except Tesla. Tesla had its own thing. And we just waited for the market to do its thing. And then we took our usual suspects, Apple, NVIDIA, AMD, and just rode those whatever direction the market was heading to. And I think today I'm in the same boat as you. I think that's the plan as well. Requires patience, guys. And just, you want to wait to see what this thing is going to do. Already, the move is very big on the SPY here. And you can see the Qs, as Norm mentioned, going red. So starting off a little bit weak this morning, at least becoming a little bit weak, because we started pretty good here with a gap up, and now we're giving that back. All right, let's take a look on what is on yours guys list here. Let's go. I'm looking at both chats, YouTube and our main chat. So we'll start with Jonathan. TCOM can put in a decent moves, but hit or miss. Yeah, I usually today maybe. I mean, there's out of many stocks. Oh, I don't know. Like this Q's right here is just continuing to bleed. They are up with when other stocks are down, so that could be interesting. Baba is up as well, 1.4. Again, giving some back right now. So if we see some kind of strength in the market, maybe these can get going. Um, maybe TCOM could do something today. Again, not my go-to, but I will add as a possible, as we don't have a whole lot to look at this morning. Heading down here, Meta looking good for a breakout on the daily. It has been for quite some time, right? We've been looking at this for a while now. It came up here. It had a great rally after the huge gap down. It's just been going sideways. It's getting tighter and tighter all across this previous day close, which is sitting at 118.04. So yeah, I think it's prime for that, but not the way the market is looking at the moment, right? Maybe a breakdown, but the market's going to dictate a lot on what Meta does. I don't think they have their own catalyst or situation to make them do their own thing this morning. American Airlines had lease cancellations. Yeah, yeah. Over the holidays there were tons of cancellations. Obviously, with the weather, the way it has been. I mean, it was 9 over here. 9
Trading
degrees.
AAL is like hitting yourself repeatedly in the head with a brick, though.
Yeah, AO has a sweet spot for me because I swing trade it, and it's done very well. But other than that, yeah, it's not the same stock we used to look at before. We're like before the pandemic and right after. It was CCL was hot too, like 2 years ago. These stocks were really in play, but they're not the same anymore. There's a lot of issues with these companies, obviously. Speaking of, is CCL at 0 yet? Well, what are we doing here? 778. Okay, so still hanging. How about mRNA? mRNA. Man, it's just stuck in this nasty range. I mean, it's not really in play. Volume is more than what they are used to trading, but less than the actual, volume like in play type that you want to see. So I don't know. I don't like it. Today's not really in play. Volume is very, very light. So I wouldn't be looking at this one. Gold, nice daily. Let's take a look here. Yeah, possible breakout. Looks like it wants to break out. It does. Tesla this morning is in play, guys. On my list already, 8 million shares traded. I mean, who would have thought Tesla at 116, right? It's just madness here. One more from Burleyman. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that correctly. MDGL. MDGL. Oh no. Madrigal Pharmaceuticals. Oh man, this is a stock that went from 0 to 60. I mean, no, just be careful. Look at the volume is dead. There's no volume here. So you're trading a $270 stock with a $4 spread, because you can't count on these zeros at all. Don't count on this. So you got a $5 spread here. This could be a guy with like 1 unit, 2 units, 3 units. I mean, you send an order of 100 shares here, you might get filled. You will get filled down at 262, at least some parts of it, right? So it's going to get better in the market open, I understand, but it's not by much. Volume is very dead here. Be very careful trading this thing, guys. Very, very careful. What else? So that's no good. Oil stocks are in play today. CVX. Let's take a look. CVX this morning. No, they're pretty quiet right now. So they're pretty quiet. I don't see anything happening yet. They can be active. No, these stocks have moved a lot in the last couple of days, you can see here, but they're really not in play right now. But again, take my word for it. Don't put too much weight on the pre-market, because the pre-market, you're not going to get a whole lot. These stocks can get moving heavily after the bell, depending how that whole sector is going to be moving. This is SPY testing. It's dropping now, the SPY. So Jarvis says SPY is testing previous day close. Yeah, look at that. So still within this range, right? Like we popped up a little bit, still couldn't get above that. Then you got the bottom of this range over like a 278. So we're just kind of been stuck in here after the nice drop that we had 2 weeks ago, right?
Amazingly, the ES, the futures for the SPY for the S&P 500 are actually already down 0.6%. So they're well below. You get some fair value issues and whatever else, but nevertheless.
Yeah, dropping quite aggressive there. All right, guys, let's stop here. Let's go to community events and announcements. Again, not a whole lot to look at this morning, and that's okay. Short week as well. And a lot of people just waiting to see what this guy and what the Qs are going to do today. And kind of like the same plan Norm and I were talking about, just kind of sit and wait on which direction this stock is going to push things. We'll look at some of our usual suspects as well that are great opportunity trades if the SPY is going to rally one way or the other, up or down. These are going to be good ones to take a look at. So, guys, let's start with our announcements. I'm going to take you over to the website as we fire up our webinars next week, right? And before I forget, tonight, and I'm sure Norman's going to talk about this tonight, we have our onboarding class. So if you were looking for it yesterday, it's going to be today. Just keep that in mind. I'd love to see you guys at 8 p.m. this evening.
Yeah, every Monday, except for this week. It's tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, the onboarding class with Carlos. Mike is often in there helping out as well. Best way to get your feet wet, figuring out the Bear Bull Traders community and what all there is and what to take part in. Tuesdays, we do strategy. Next Tuesday, there are no webinars this week other than that onboarding. Excuse me. Next Tuesday, you've got how to read price action with Eamon. That's at 5 p.m. Eastern. Note the special time because of his time zone. Following week, on the 10th at 8 p.m., we've got Andrew talking about the 920 strategy. All right, psychology on Wednesdays. Next week, thinking in bets. That's going to be Dr. Kenneth Reed. And the following week on the 11th, 5 p.m. Eastern, how to find your mental edge with Kreda. Kreda's back. She's been gone for about a month or so. She's been on vacation. Mentorship on Thursdays, 11 a.m. with John, 8 p.m. with Thor. TradingTerminal.com, where we have all of our trading tools for free. People spend thousands of dollars on these scanners and the replay simulator, everything else. Be sure to check that out at TradingTerminal.com. Don't forget, we are enrolling. We are about 2/3 full for Peak Capital Bootcamp that starts on January 9th. We are changing things up quite a bit, guys. This is a close mentorship, guided mentorship, intense program over 3 months. We've got live trading a couple of times a week at a minimum, building your trade book, discovering what works best for you, learning how to stick to it, everything else. You've got one-on-one discussions, small group discussions. We've got a much smaller, we're taking a much smaller group and cutting it off at about a third of the size of the previous boot camps to focus on mentorship and helping people grow their own accounts. Be sure to check that out, peakcapitaltrading.com. San Diego, the live trading summit. That's March 2nd and 3rd. Be sure to get your ticket as soon as you can. That is a 2-day event in San Diego. Presentations and you've got dinner with everybody. You've got breakfast the next morning. It's just going to be phenomenal. So be sure to check that out. BearBullTraders.com/workshop. If you are watching on YouTube, you haven't been in the room, use the promo code PreMarket24 with that intro membership. It'll give you a one calendar week in the room, 5 trading days, unless there's a holiday, of course. It's a one-time payment, and with the promo code PreMarket24, you'll get a discount. That's PreMarket24, no hyphens or spaces or anything. And then also, we still have the Christmas holiday discount going on for the Elite Annual. That's 60% off the Elite Annual membership. We're going to have to raise prices come January next week, so if you'd like to lock that in, you're currently a member, you can do that, and it'll just add on an additional 12 months to the end of your current term. That's it.
All right. Thank you very much, Norm. All right, guys, let's get to our list this morning. And let's see what we got going on here. So right now, so far, only 4 on my list and 2 possibles and 2 that are really heavily in play this morning. And I expect this list to get bigger as the gappers list continues to grow, or gap down, specifically if the SPY continues to drop here, and the Qs as well. So should be an interesting day. You're already setting up to be one. Is the market open this Friday? Yes, I believe the market's open Friday, right? If anything. Actually, let's check, because I haven't checked when it's actually closed.
Market's closed Monday. That's it.
Monday. Okay, so it's open Friday, closed Monday. We'll see, guys, how things play out here already. I like NEO. I like Tesla moving very well this morning. And then we'll keep an eye on our usual suspects like Apple. Right, Apple's already moving with the market. You can see how clean this is, hitting that 131 level that we have here off the daily. So I'm going to add that to our list as well. And what else you guys have on your end that might look interesting this morning? Or something you look at if the SPY is going to be moving one way or the other. Fabio, we did take a look at Oxy and XOM. They're not doing a whole lot right now, so it's very difficult to tell if they're going to be really in play or how they're going to trade. I mean, these are tickers that do well after the market open, right? After the market open, you are going to see exactly what they want to do. But right now, they're pretty quiet for the most part. Oxy is actually it's got almost 100,000, so that's not bad. Almost up 1%. So I do like Oxy here. There's something going to be moving. This could be a good one, guys. Right? You're breaking above the 64, which we have not been above in about what 2 weeks here. Right, so you're getting above that with this slight gap up that you're seeing here. 98,000 for Oxy is actually pretty good. So, we'll put them as a possible. Let's see if that sector overall is going to be hot today. So we'll put that on there. And then there's some other ones you can pick from XOM. Someone mentioned CVX as well on our YouTube chat also. So you can pick which one you like out of that group. Brian Dollar, first day trading as an elite member. Let's go, baby. Man, congratulations and welcome to the community. So glad to have you there. Everybody, welcome Brian to our community. Okay, so what else do we have, guys? So we have Apple, we have Oxy. How about the semiconductors? Are they doing anything? AMD, man, this is extremely light volume on AMD. Only 212. I suspect NVIDIA is going to be the same thing, 300,000. So again, just not a whole lot volume being pushed through here. So these guys are pretty quiet at the moment. And see if anything else you guys have. If not, we'll go to levels and we'll prepare some questions, some comments, because we do have time. It's going to be a very short levels type segment when it comes to what we have on deck already. Let's see here. Let's scroll up. Did I miss anything? Nope, I did not. Okay, let's get these levels set in, and then we can look at some more stuff you guys throw out here or answer any questions you guys might have as we move forward. So let's start with low of the pre-market on NEO right now, guys. Really good move. I mean, we started up here. We were in the green, high of 1128, and now we're dropped as low as 1013. As production issues are rising up over in China. So towards the bottom, we do have 966 and we also have 918. And then this huge drop down here at 837. So a couple of levels towards the bottom. I mean, NEO hasn't been great. It's been a couple of days where you're seeing the volume we love seeing on NEO, this 173 right here. And then the follow through days also gave you some nice spikes here. You saw some really wide body candles. We haven't seen that. Like even on this drop here, there were only a couple of days that were really good. You're not getting the big moves that we're used to seeing out of NEO. And that we saw it through a stretch, right? We saw this beautiful stretch here on NEO. I mean, it was amazing. September and October were just incredible. I think I only traded NEO for that whole entire month span there. So we'll see what we get here, guys. Tons of volume, 2.3 million is starting off on the right foot so far in the pre-market. Towards the top, I'm not going to add anything because you're surrounded by all these levels, highs and lows, previous day close. I mean, you got plenty here to go by, so do not need to add anything else. Heading over to Tesla. Tesla this morning also just continuing to plummet here. 115.64 is the low of the pre-market. Below this, we got to go to weekly because you guys know it's been some time. So we're going to go all the way down to right over here. This will be 92.22. Really? You guys think we can get there? Man, that is, we will see. Soon he's gonna have to do a reverse split on this thing. Let's see, 104 maybe, 104.29. Yeah, 104.29 could be a good one. And then you have one right here at 110.27. So you got three good levels: 110.27, 104.29, and 96 is a big area of support that we have here on the weekly. So that for whatever was happening here, you got a whole month that just kind of was like using that as support. Did not want to go below that, and then finally you saw a nice little breakout there. So I got some good stuff happening there as far as levels. Let's see where Tesla is going to go here, my friends. Heading back to Apple, and then towards the top, I didn't really talk about it, but if you look up towards the top, you got plenty of stuff there already. you have your highs and lows for the last 2 trading days. So not a whole lot that you really need to add there. Looking at Apple this morning, Apple, you're stuck between the highs and lows of the last 2 trading days. I'm going to mark down the high of the pre-market over at 133.25. The low is being tested right now again at 131.10 as we continue to drop. That might change, but that area is pretty interesting because you do have a couple of days, almost bouncing off of that opening and closing right around that area. So you might want to keep that 131 there, 131.10, even if we do drop and create a new market low, a new pre-market low, or you might not even need to. You might just go straight to this one, this level here, low from 2 trading days ago, and the low from the last trading day there. So you got plenty of stuff on Apple. Again, moving with the overall market. So if you're looking at Apple, make sure you're looking at the Qs and the SPY because it is doing the exact same thing that you're seeing now. Oxy taking some moves here, dropping 40 cents in a few seconds here. Could be interesting. As far as levels, we have high of the pre-market 68, 64.82. Above this, we do have 65.90. And I think that's it. Once you put those two levels there, you're pretty much set. I mean, we're flat on this previous day close line, which has been like a support and resistance for this stock quite a bit. So it loves being around this price target at 64. Price is coming to it now. Let's see in a couple of minutes where this goes. Again, pre-market for Oxy and many of these oil tickers it's not great. You're not going to get a whole ton of volume, so you just kind of got to wait for the market open. Let's take a look at Baba. So Baba this morning surrounding itself by the highs and lows of the last 2 trading days. Towards the bottom, I am going to mark down 82.69, and I also will mark down this level here at 84. Not a big level of support there, that 84.31, but this one 82.69 does look a little bit better. You got some stuff happening there as well. So towards the top, just mark down the high of the pre-market on Baba at the moment. Again, I have it as a possible. But the volume is because the volume is not there, but the volume can pick up pretty quickly on this thing. So be on the lookout for it. Again, it's just kind of stuck within these levels for the last couple of days, weeks, really, right? Just kind of see there's a range here. It's a nasty range, but there's a range here that's happening between 90 and I want to see the previous day close around 85.65. So we'll see if we can break out of that today or not. And then we have TCOM again. I don't like this for short. I would love to sell for a breakout if it's going to go, and it's got to have incredible volume. If it cannot do that, then it's not really something I'll be interested in. So that's my only play for this thing. I don't really like it short. I think short you're going to have a lot of issues coming in here, but we'll see if it can be strong and break out. I think you can have a bigger, cleaner move if it can do that, and maybe test 36 and higher. So we'll see what it does here on Baba, on TCOM, I mean. All right, we're set, guys. That is our list so far. I mean, it's not a whole lot to choose from. Let me check my gappers list. 1 second, guys. I got to go somewhere else to do this. Let me check my gappers list, see if there's anything new that has been coming up here. And you can also check this over on tradingterminal.com. Head over to scanners, and you have access to this exact same thing, right? You can see what's happening there. All right, here we go. So on the gap down, I suspect that's going to pick up a little bit. Rivian is coming up on the gap down list. Other than that, is the same tickers we already looked at. So if I look at Rivian, man, look at Rivian taking a drop here. I mean, this thing has just been also getting crushed. But Tesla has kind of overlapped them a little bit. So we have not really been talking about Rivian as much, maybe because the volume is not great. And though they're dropping, it doesn't seem to be big moves, right? But this morning, they're down almost 2% here. So yeah, maybe today could be a day. But again, I got NIO on deck, which looks much better this morning, especially with the type of volume that we're getting out of that one. Jared SPY is touched the previous day close. Yeah, right to the penny, man. Right? Is that? Yeah, love the pre-market right to the penny. Getting some love here, a little bit of a bounce at the moment. Let's see if that's gonna hold, but it's not looking great. That's for sure. Kip, your long Tesla 116.90. All right, let's see how that goes. It's a good play if you're gonna play off of a bounce. It's a good play. You got some levels you could use as your stop. So yeah. Matthew, I said the same thing when I saw it. I haven't looked at any stocks until I logged in here in to the pre-market show, and we saw Tesla together, and I'm like, wow, 115.68 is the low for Tesla. It's just madness, right? So, and didn't think I would see those numbers. I at least after drop, guys, we were at 300, right? So we dropped to 300, we went down to 200, held on for that for a bit, and now we're dropping to 116. So I mean, it has been I don't want to say a roller coaster. It's just been a downhill downhill drop here. It's just nothing holding this thing at the moment. All Asian CVs trending down. Lee, XPEV, Neo, yeah, they're all down this morning. They got production issues, right? So they're all trending down today. Tesla is part of that as well. That affects them also, right? They got factories over there. So I got Tesla and Neo for that news, right? You can look at some other ones. Rivian is also getting above that 2%. They're starting to see some volume. But and how about XPEV? I did not look at XPEV. XPEV, yeah, dropping as well. Not as great, not as much volume as Neo, right? So Neo and Tesla really are the ones that are seeing some good moves and good volume this morning. So I'm going to stick to those. Nvidia says Nvidia over in our YouTube chat says cliff dive. Exactly. Tesla, that's the word I was looking for. Cliff dive over here on Tesla, right? On automation and with no control. It's just going right off the cliff. What else, guys? Why is it oh yeah, this is empty because I have my thing expired, my program expired here, so I gotta get that fixed. So we'll change that for tomorrow. I noticed this morning when I logged in. So that's why you don't see the scanners there. All right, guys. Anything else? What am I looking at for Tesla? That's a great question. See, it's you would think, hey, let's short Tesla, right? But it's just so difficult to do that. We got to see at the market open what's going to give you. It's difficult for me to short something that's been so extended towards the downside. So I hope at the market open we get like a little pop that allows us to get a good entry if we're going to be short for today. But when it comes, the great thing about the ORB, guys, is that you don't really need to know what the market is going to do or what it kind of has done, right, as far as price action. You wait for that 5 minute, you wait for that information is going to tell you a lot, right? So like 2 minutes before the market, whatever's happening then, plus that first 5 minutes is going to give you so much information on what the stock wants to do, right? And more often than not, hopefully stays playing around the VWAP, and if it starts moving away from the VWAP, then you most likely can get a good entry for a possible breakout from the highs to the low, right? So waiting that first 5 minutes is critical on a stock like Tesla, where you're going to have a lot of volume being pushed through right after the bell. You're going to have a lot of candles looking like this one right on here, with a lot of indecision happening, right, where it pops up, pops down. And this is where you have to be careful because you can get stopped out so many times. You could think it's going, you get in short here, comes right back to the VWAP, and then now you're down a couple of bucks, right? Same thing towards the downside. So waiting for this to settle out, it's going to help you out a lot. And then it trends. I mean, we've seen so many times, every time we go back and review something, this was Friday, we didn't do much, but every time we review something, if you would just waited 30 minutes in many cases, stocks that are in play like Tesla are going to do their thing, right? So let's take a look, for example, here. Let's say if you were not sure, although this is a clean start. This is a very clean start to open range breakdown, right? So, but let's say this was messy, right? Let's say this was messy. If you waited a couple of minutes, look at the direction you start getting. You start getting more information, and the candles are going to tell you what they want to do here. So you get more information. Clearly, it's looking weak. It's not even getting to the VWAP, and then you get this drop, right? So waiting is so important, guys. When it comes to wait for your strategy, you got your criteria. You know what you're looking for, right? It's all about execution, and that's probably one of the hardest things to be a trader is the execution part, right? We know exactly what we have to do, but we just don't do it at times, and that's when you get in trouble. Here's Apple. Apple, yeah, getting a bit of a bounce. That's the overall SPY movement at the moment. So we'll have to just kind of see where this bounce is going here on the SPY. Yeah, Neo, Tesla, Qs, and SPY. Matthew, that's what we're looking at. If you take a look, I mean, that's really it. and especially the SPY and the Qs and what's happening there. So Apple short below 129. Yeah, oh man, below 129. Okay, you want to break down this range? Maybe, that's a long way to go though. You need to see a lot of weakness. I'd like to get in earlier to get to 129.63, right? If we can. So, but we'll be looking at the SPY to see what kind of action it's going to give us, right? This market is just is so weak though. I don't expect it to just bounce here. If I had to guess, I think you're going to see more sideways action than actual move up. That's just my thought. I don't think it's just going to go back up here. It's just not strong enough. Yeah, I agree. Big troubles. Yeah, yep. It does. It does. Tesla will bounce today, in my opinion. I don't know, man. Tesla's got some issues, my friend. This thing here, it is extended. There's no question. This thing is very extended. But see now, forgetting about us day traders, now people that are in this thing, that are seeing all the issues that this company's having, aside from the market, this is just not market move. This is just Elon madness, Tesla issues, right? Deep issues they're having. Um, do you really want to go long in this thing? Do you want to put, your money in here? If you're an investor, right? Remember, these guys move the stock as well. It's not just day traders. It's bigger money than we have moving these things, right? These market makers. Do you really want to get in long here? I don't know, man. I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be not for long term. I think there's more downside to this. Until the market actually starts carrying this thing or something happens. So again, it's just my opinion, and everybody has one. And I could be completely wrong. Today could be where there's a V reversal back up to 300, but I'm not putting my chips on it though. I'd rather miss the move than put my chips on something that I don't think might happen. Juan G says Tesla to $50. Ah, dude, man. It can't shock me after hitting 116 today. It really can't. Don't shorts want to take profits on Tesla? Yeah, but if you're short and you're taking profits, yeah, you might get a bounce here, but that's not gonna carry you to, you're not gonna squeeze Tesla like that. This is not AMC. This is not one of those stocks where you're gonna get a squeeze like that, right? I don't think that's gonna happen. So yeah, you might get a bounce. It might be some profit taken right now. This bounce right here might be some profit taken right off 115. But I just don't think you're going to get that's going to happen like it does on other stocks where we've seen like AMC, even Neo, even other stocks that just take off. On Apple and Tesla and bigger companies, I don't think that actually happens in that way, right? That you get a short squeeze that trends the entire day. I don't think that's the case. Um, these companies don't move in that direction. Tesla doesn't have nearly the short flow it used to. Yeah, yeah. So let's see here, guys. Tesla still overvalued. Well, Cindy, Tesla was overvalued when they came out with their Cybertruck and they were at 400 before two what's the word I'm looking for? Before two splits, right? So it's all perspective, right? So the market will tell you what it's really worth, and yeah, you can look at the fundamentals, but the market, well, not the market will tell you what the price is, right? Regardless of what it's worth. But this thing was overpriced when the Cybertruck came out. If you guys remember that, people were saying this thing is going to go down to 200, and from there it went up to 800, split. I think it went up to 800 again, right? Split one more time. So it's I know we're down here, but if you look at the history, this stock has been, I mean, just incredible with the growth that it has seen. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun to look at where it goes today. There it is. Even after breaking the even after breaking the glass, he still managed to uh to move the stock pretty aggressive. So towards the upside. By the way, this truck, I think you could get this for $100. You can reserve your truck now. I think you're gonna start delivering sometime in the who knows where future if you're interested. Uh, fun, fun, fun. Will be interesting to see one of those in the streets when it first comes out. That's for sure. All right, guys, 9:13. Not a whole lot this morning. We have NEO, we have Tesla, which both are really good this morning. We have Apple, and we can add some other usual suspects on here as well. Bob is not really in play today. TCOM not really looking all that great this morning. Some other usual suspects. I would have added AMD and NVIDIA, but their volume today is extremely light. NVIDIA looks a little bit better. The daily looks, I think, better, right? Let's compare it to AMD. Very similar, but NVIDIA does look slightly better this morning. So yeah, it's a cleaner daily. I believe it's a cleaner daily. We're sitting at this level here. So I'll add NVIDIA just to fill my list here. Not NVIDIA. We'll fill that on there, and we'll see where that goes. And again, we'll just be patient today with the process. So far, moderators list, we have Jared and Brian. Brian is in with his list this morning, and we'll take a look if any other moderators have their list today. Let's go ahead and switch over there. Guys, if you haven't done so already, hit that thumbs up over on YouTube. We appreciate it very much. We are sitting at 103 likes, which is not bad for the type of day that it is. We'd love to get to 150, 200. Will help us out a whole bunch. So thank you for that. And if you're enjoying the content, of course, subscribe, and we would love to see you again tomorrow. All right, let's bring over our moderators list. We'll read through that, and then we will get this short trading week started as we move into this Tuesday. Again, guys, can't stress enough. These type of days, real quick, I ran a report of all the trades that I've taken this month, and this month has not been great for me P&L wise. Hasn't been bad, but hasn't been great. You know, we're just slightly at break even, which is okay. We came off an incredible October and an amazing November. So this month, we're like, if we have to end the year just cruising, let it be. But the number of trades I've taken has dropped more than 50% for the month compared to last month, right? So kind of tells you that there's not a whole lot out there. We've been sitting on our hands in the chat room. So if you're not part of the chat room over on YouTube, we've been sitting on our hands and waiting for opportunities, right? So we know that this time of the year, things have not been great. That is so important to do as a trader, guys. So especially if you're new, I know it sucks to be new starting in and you got to kind of sit and not take too many trades. That sucks because we want to trade as traders, but very important to just kind of stick to the process, sit on your hands, and wait for opportunities. Cannot stress that enough, guys. All right, let's look at our list right now. So moderators list, we have Jared, Tesla, Southwest, LUV there, NEO, secondary list, Apple, and some energy stocks that might be trending for the day. Here is Brian's list, Tesla, Southwest, GDX, NEO, and the indexes. And then he also is going to be looking at what Jared put on there, some energy stocks as well. I got a couple here also on my list. Thor, looking at the SPYs, the Qs, Tesla, and Oxy at the moment. And that is what you have, guys. I mean, our lists are going to look very similar today. Tesla is really one that's moving quite a bit. We're all going to have our eyes on Tesla, not just you. I think everyone is. So looking forward to that. Already 9 million shares traded. And it looks like we're dropping back down to the low of the pre-market here. If we can continue, let's look at the SPY here. Yeah, SPY is dropping some more, guys. So will be fun. Guys, talk to you soon. Have an amazing trading day over on YouTube. We're going to continue here in our chat, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have an amazing trading day.